Welcome, everyone. My name is Tony McCowan. I'm the chair of the board of directors at Pearson College. And before I get to my official script, which is to make an announcement to you today, I just want to give you a little bit of background as to how we reached a conclusion as to who should be the next head of college. When David Hawley told us in September he was moving to a very significant role in the International Baccalaureate, at the end of the year, we had to make a decision first. Were we looking for a new head for January or for the summer? And we decided, I say wisely because you shouldn't say that your decision is a wise one, but we decided that we should go for the summer. And part of that was, of course, because we knew we had an outstanding interim, and I used that word for the last time, head of college in Mark Martin. Thank you to Mark and Becky. I actually had some much longer wise words to say about Mark later on so that you really would get excited and thank you. Mark, for me personally, thank you so very much for all that you have done for the college that means so much to us. Having made the decision that we needed to have a search, we went out and investigated consultants to help with the search, and we found an excellent lady, Colleen, who brought professionalism, which included, by the way, the selection of David Hawley and his recruitment 7-8 years before. So she knew the college well, and we added to that, we created a committee of 7 people, 4 of the board. And I think today I'm actually the only board member here. That's part of it because our board is scattered around the world. 4 members of the board and 3 members of the staff faculty at the college, Catherine Brown, Miss Blondeau, and Alison Mackenzie Arms. So the 7 of us with our consultant helped to devise a profile of the college, of the position, and we put it out to the world, advertised, searched, recruited people, and by January we were ready to interview, and we encountered a candidate who we knew we really wanted to pursue further, and by March, and the board makes the decision, not the search committee, by March the board confirmed our selection, and today it's my pleasure to actually announce, after, as you can understand, 7 months, an extensive search, many applicants, and the board have unanimously approved the selection and appointment of a new Pearson College, but the title we're using, President and Head of College. Her name is Désirée McGraw, and yes, Miss McGraw will be the first woman to lead Pearson College. I was just checking while you were clapping to see who was tapping. I noticed 1 or 2 young men were not. I was thinking. Some things, Mark, have not changed. Yes, Désirée McGraw. She was the first woman in our 40-year history. Now, let me tell you something about this remarkable woman. Miss McGraw embodies all the values that we promote at Pearson College. Throughout her life, she has actively pursued our mission to make education a force to unite people, nations, and cultures for peace and a sustainable future. Yes, you may laugh, but you need to listen to what she's done with her life, which we hope all of you will go on and do. She first came to Canadians' attention in 1986, when she was only 16 years old. As a member of the Students Against Global Extermination, better known as SAGE, she organized and embarked on an 8-month national speaking tour promoting global peace and security issues to her peers across Canada. 1/4 of Canadian high schools they visited. There's over 1,000 schools. Pearson College was the last stop on their tour. Désirée McGraw comes from Quebec, by the way. The last stop on their tour. Miss McGraw told us that the engagement and idealism absolutely dominated their thinking on their tour. The engagement they really noticed was at Pearson College, and it had a profound impact on her. She's never forgotten the sense of possibility and idealism she found here. And I'd say it is no coincidence that her life's work has finally led her back to our campus. Since the Sage tour, when she was 16, Miss McGraw has become one of Canada's most influential advocates for youth engagement, international cooperation, and sustainable development. She brings to Pearson more than 25 years of experience as an educator at McGraw University, as well as an advocate and advisor who has worked to engage young people on global issues, ranging from nuclear disarmament to climate change. She has earned accolades for her leadership of the Jean Sauvé Foundation, where she has been president for the last 7 years. She's been a senior advisor to a former Prime Minister of Canada. She has been the Director of Policy for the Ministry of International Cooperation, and she is a co-founder of Al Gore's Climate Reality Project in Canada. And so the list goes on. In 2010, Ms. McGraw was appointed a Young Global Leader by the World Economic Forum and was recently named one of Canada's top 100 most powerful women by the Financial Post. Premier en Affaires, which is a magazine in Quebec, identified her as one of the 8 most influential women. And she's also been named as one of Canada's top most influential people on the environment. So you can see she has been very active and well recognized for her activity. Somehow, through all of these incredible accomplishments, Ms. McGraw has found time, something I've never done, not once. She's found time to run 5 marathons. As you can see, she is an ideal fit for our college. We couldn't have imagined a candidate more suitable to lead the college when we set out on our search for a new school leader. You've probably noticed that I've been using the title President. We are adopting this designation to bring us in line with some recent United World College appointments. In addition to the responsibilities of head of college as president, Ms. McGraw will be focused on promoting the college to our external audiences, including donors, prospective students, and the public. Indeed, Ms. McGraw is passionate about international education as a means of solving some of the world's most pressing issues, and the role that Pearson College has to play in this. That's what we have to focus on. She's committed to getting this message out by actively promoting the college across Canada and around the world. The board recognizes that with this expanded role, Ms. McGraw will require additional support on campus, and we're extremely pleased to report that Mark Banner-Martin has agreed to continue in his role as Deputy Head of College as of August the 1st. Until then, he carries on in his capacity as Head of College. Ms. McGraw's official start date is August the 1st, just in time for our 20-year and 40-year reunions here on campus. Her husband, Chris McGreevy, and their 2 young sons, Jack and Michael, are also looking forward to joining the Pearson College community. Interestingly, back in 1986, some film was made, and there are 2 clips we're going to show you now of Désirée McGraw at 16 years old. One when she was here at the college, and another is an interview with the Mile Zero, in which there's a focus just on her. The section on the college shows a number of people, but I think it will be fairly obvious to you who the young lady is who is leading the way. So before I ask Désirée to join us, I want to introduce her to you as she appeared at the college nearly 30 years ago. Can we have the clip, please?
On this episode of Alive in the Nuclear Age, we'll meet a group of students from Montreal who decided they wanted to travel across the country, sharing their concerns about the arms race with other students. They call themselves Students Against Global Extermination, or SAGE for short. Maxime Faye and Désirée McGraw are two members of the group, and for months they've traveled across Canada leading discussions about nuclear issues.
Let's take a survey. How many of you think that a nuclear war is likely to happen within your lifetime? Raise your hand. Okay. How many of you don't think it's going to happen? Okay.
All right, let's hear from those who are optimistic first. Why not? Why don't you think a nuclear war is going to happen in your lifetime? I don't think it's going to happen, but maybe my reasons are different than yours.
Because we're going to do something about it.
Hey, did you hear that? Did everyone hear that? Yes? She said, I don't think it's going to happen because we're going to do something about it. I really like that answer. I feel that way too.
All the countries that are a member of the United Nations got together and they all agreed upon one thing. They said that humankind is faced with a choice. We can either stop the nuclear arms race and get rid of nuclear weapons, or we can face annihilation.
We spend $200,000 a minute on nuclear weapons, and in that same minute, 30 children die in the world of starvation or curable diseases. One child every 2 seconds that just doesn't have to die.
Time and time again, the superpowers have agreed that one day they're going to have to get rid of their nuclear weapons. So the real question is, when are we going to do it? What are the superpowers waiting for?
It's up to every individual to say, what can I do? What can I do? It doesn't have to be something big. It's up to every person to say, what am I good at, and how can I make that work for peace and nuclear disarmament? Something small, something big.
People calling and saying, you're unpatriotic, you're doing a disservice to this country, go back to school. Don't worry about a nuclear war. And then you have all these adults saying, don't worry about it, don't be talking about it. And you have all these kids calling up saying, I'm afraid of a nuclear war. So that's what's really frustrating. We don't blame adults. But when you have them saying, be apathetic, they're saying, that's basically what they're saying. A lot of them, but a lot of them are supportive too.
Have you been on any shows that were run by people your same age?
No, not enough of the kids. That's what has to happen. Kids have to be able to have their own shows. They have to make more decisions than when is the next student council dance going to be, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think it's really a question of empowerment. And they have to be made to feel like they can really make a difference and not always be told what to do by adults. And that's how we're going to see things change, I think.
We learned a lot about Canada on the trip, and we learned about Canadians, and we learned to love our country too. And I stopped having nightmares. I guess I wasn't as scared of nuclear war, because I was trying to do something about it. By the end of April, we knew that thousands of Canadian students felt just like us. They wanted to do something for peace. But what about kids from other countries? What were they thinking? One of our last stops was Lester B. Pearson College on Vancouver Island, a school for students from all over the world.
How would you affect change in your own country? Because we're talking about Canada here, but we'd be interested to know how it would work in other areas of the world.
I'm from Kenya. Okay, I know that the superpowers, or the Western nations in general, the powerful nations, do have this tendency of placing a lot of pressure on the nations in the developing world, such that when you come even to the United Nations, some of these nations cannot vote as they feel that they want to vote. So I think this is a major problem as far as the question of nuclear arms reduction is involved. I think we should also consider that we also share the world, so we should have as much a say as they do. I think that's an issue that also has to be looked at.
New Zealand did declare itself nuclear free, and obviously there's been economic results against us, and we were not supported by surrounding neighbours. Australia gave us no support, and Japan, other Pacific neighbours. And I can't say that that I'm not frustrated by it, but I wonder what happens after you move outside of a national scale. I mean, it's obviously a very international problem, so where do we go from having a convincing national movement?
We, in Canada, use New Zealand as an example in our presentations. And I think in that sense it's going to have an impact, because we're saying, look, New Zealand did it, and we can do it here too.
By the time we reached the end of the Trans-Canada Highway, we had visited over 350 schools and talked to more than 120,000 high school students.
We had traveled 42,000 kilometers, and this was mile zero. How did I feel? Like I could keep on going.
Now, if we have the choreography right, I'd like to introduce you to Désirée McGraw.
Thank you so much. I feel a little emotional, a little embarrassed. Thank you, Tony, for that wonderfully generous introduction, followed by some potent reminders of my 16-year-old self. This is quite incredible to be here with all of you, valued members of the Pearson community, board members, faculty, staff, and above all, students, both past and present. Good morning, or as we say in my native Quebec, bon matin. Je suis ravie d'être parmi vous ce matin. Et quelle belle journée. What a beautiful day. What a beautiful day. And I'm thrilled to be here with you today. And I'm so happy that soon I'll be able to call Pearson College my home. I feel extremely privileged to have had the opportunity to lead the college. I appreciate the contribution of the extraordinary directors who preceded me, such as Tony McGowan and his wife Anne, who I believe is here today. And I truly embrace the obligation not only to uphold the tremendous legacy of the past 40 years, but to advance it. I'm honored that the board has chosen me and my husband Chris to follow in the footsteps of David Hawley and his partner Lisa Veld. They were inspiring college leaders who left a legacy of excellence and a strong and healthy community on which we hope to build. And of course, Mark. Mark, I have observed and heard so many great things about the steady hand you have provided leading the college over the past 7 months, not to mention your 27 years of service as a teacher and more recently as Dean of Studies. I am so glad and so grateful to know that you will continue with many of those duties in your role as Deputy Head of College, and I'm looking forward to working very closely with you and being able to call on your deep experience and sound advice in the years to come. I want to see Pearson's profile and contribution to Canada and the world flourish during my tenure. I realize that's ambitious, but I know that there is already a team of smart, passionate, and committed people right here on the ground at the college to help me build on the incredible accomplishments that have made Pearson the force it is in the world today. I can't wait to be on campus and truly get to know the faculty, staff, and students. I can't wait to work together to make Pearson College even more relevant and more successful than ever. I have to confess, I was actually secretly on campus a few weeks ago. Some of you may remember. I sat with some of you in the dining hall. I had the chance to sit in on a full international affairs session devoted to mental health. And I had the chance to watch some of the rehearsals for the incredible One World performance. I didn't see the actual performance, but I did see the rehearsals. And I was once again struck by the engagement and intelligence, the idealism and the talent that I saw here at Pearson. As you will have gathered from the Sage video clip, I come from a place of privilege. And of my many privileges, perhaps the greatest one is that I learned and experienced from a young age that through hard work, through teamwork, through organization and passion, almost anything is possible. The fact that you are all here tells me that you know this too. I am here above all because I believe in you. I believe in your potential and in your power to change the world. Since the SAGE Tour, as a student activist, a global youth ambassador, an overseas graduate researcher, a UN reporter, a political advisor and advocate, as well as, and above all, as an educator, I have devoted my life to engaging and empowering a new generation of leaders to tackle global problems. And there is no better way to build the bonds that will go the hard, long distance required to create lasting change than to have a deliberately diverse and committed, dynamic group of young people live, learn, and lead together. Indeed, how can there be peace without people understanding each other? And how can this be if they don't know each other? These are not my words. These are the words of Lester B. Pearson when he accepted his Nobel Peace Prize. This was the vision of one of Canada's greatest prime ministers and a leader that I deeply admire. As you know, Lester B. Pearson was the driving force behind the founding of this college. After retiring from public life, Mr. Pearson became interested in the United World College movement. Convinced that there must be such a college in Canada, he envisioned a place where, quote, students will be welcomed without regard to race, religion, or politics, students from all levels of society who will be genuine representatives of their own peoples. He predicted this system could become a revolutionary force to international education. And indeed it has. There was a time when all Canadians knew about this college and what a key symbol of Canada it was through its mission to make education a global force for change. It is still a mighty symbol for our country 40 years after its founding. But in today's very different and even more complex world, Pearson's mission is more critical than ever. That mission, and that of the UWC movement more broadly, is to, quote, make education a force to unite people, nations, and cultures for a peaceful and sustainable future. We do so by combining experiential learning with academic excellence, by educating and nurturing the whole person, mind, body, and spirit. And we do all of this in order to prepare our students to tackle the problems of the world. David Sutcliffe, a key figure in the development of the UWC movement, poses this challenge. Has international education led the way, or are we simply scrambling to keep up with international crises? How do we maintain our distinctive programming in a world where the International Baccalaureate is projected to have 10,000 programs and 60,000 teachers trained by 2020? In a world where most of the best schools, whether they be at the primary level all the way to the post-secondary level, have community service as part of their co-curriculum. These are good problems to have. Imitation is indeed the highest form of flattery. It's not that Pearson has fallen behind, it's just that the rest of the world is catching up. There is an increasingly crowded field of organizations and programs working to educate and engage the next generation of leaders and change agents. And I know this because for the last 7 years, I have led one such organization as president of the Jeanne Sauvé Foundation. And I've had the opportunity to work closely with many other like-minded organizations with a similar mission, both in Canada and abroad. So there is no question that institutions like Pearson are competing for time, talent, and treasure. Our central challenge then is to ensure that through our distinctive identity and our unique approach to education, we will lead the way into the future. If we're going to continue to attract, engage, and educate exceptionally promising students like all of you, and if we're going to foster your ability to think and collaborate across different cultures, countries, and contexts, and if we are going to hone your leadership skills to make a difference in the world, then we must all be willing to evaluate and consider the way we do things. We need to continually refine and improve our model so that we can have the impact that we seek in the world. Yes, we're going to have to embrace change, at least where change will make the right kind of difference. And to quote UWC International Council member Laurie Frank, if the educational model for UWC never changes, then it's a sign the movement is stagnant. I know Pearson has contributed a lot to these changes and to maintaining a cutting-edge curriculum. Like so many of you, I consider myself to be an idealist and a practical one. And as a practical idealist, I believe that to be true to our ideals, to create the kind of change the world needs, we need to work harder and smarter than those who prefer and seek to preserve the status quo for its own sake. English philosopher Edmund Burke said that, quote, history is a race between catastrophe and education. As an educator who comes from a family of teachers, I'm placing my time, my energy, and my confidence in the transformative power of education to change the world. To win this race, our path must be paved on A, a solid and sustainable funding base, and B, on a clear and compelling message that demonstrates our impact on students, both past and present, and in turn, their impact on the world. And that's exactly what we're going to do together. We're going to build greater support by creating awareness of the important work that we're doing, by telling our story, by sharing your stories and the stories of the 3,800 students or graduates who have come before you. We will spread our message right across the country and around the world. In this sense, I see my central role as that of chief champion for Pearson College. Working together, we will develop and deliver an action plan that will make Pearson College more relevant, more successful, and more impactful than ever before. I'm grateful that I will be able to rely on the help and advice from Pearson's exceptional and tireless board of directors, patrons, alumni, partners, and supporters. And I know that your support, that of the staff, the faculty, and of course the students gathered here today, is more essential than ever. But first, there's a lot of listening and learning for me to do. I would invite you to think of me as a first-year student at Pearson College. Over the course of my first few months on campus, I intend to completely immerse myself in the culture and fabric of Pearson College, and I hope to get to know each and every one of you. For those of you who are graduating, I look forward to getting to know you in the future, hopefully a little in the next couple of days as well. I have so much to learn, and I look forward to learning about and collaborating with this incredible community that I already feel a part of. For me, this isn't just taking on a new job. It's a life, and I can't wait to begin. I want to thank you for your warm welcome. I feel humbled and excited by the opportunities and challenges that lie ahead. Merci.